Welcome back. Time to talk politics on Opinion Court. Please use that hashtag Opinion Court so that we can track your conversation. If you're online, we're at Citizen TV Kenya. That's on Facebook and Twitter, and 22422 as our SMS line. I will reintroduce my guests to you and our topic. To my right is Kitutu Chache South MP Richard Onyonka of ODM. Next to him is Edward Kisiangani, our resident political analyst, and to my left is Aden Duale, the leader of the majority. Let me also begin the program by making a correction. Last week we inadvertently referred to one of our panelists as the UNDP representative on elections. We apologize for that. The professor was just a political analyst, so we beg your pardon for that. To our conversation today, we're discussing ODM's unity meeting of yesterday and whether these cracks that we are seeing emerging are real or perceived. And of course, in just a few days, we expect to be going back to the voter registration drive. So what does that mean for parties as they jostle for those much needed votes and to form a solid home? Prof, I'll start with you. What did you think about the NASA launch?
It was exhibitionist. The NASA launch was quite exhibitionist, and you could see it was like a film. But you see, it represents the truth about our Kenyan society. Let me declare on this show that Kenya is a post-truth society.
Post-truth?
Yes, it is a post-truth society. And in a post-truth society, what matters is hype, propaganda. But objective facts don't matter. You appeal to emotions. So when you see the launch, what happened at Bomas, everybody was emotional. Even those who didn't believe in unity rose up and sang in some delusionary, manner, and celebrated as if they were possessed by some spirits, and, wow, and assured everybody we are together. But you have seen, in fact, hours later, it's not just days, days later, hours later, the first crack was seen when Nick Salat received a warning from the other party stalwarts in Kanu. Then today, Moses Wetangula has issued another statement which says that he can only belong to CORD. So it is a very interesting thing. What I would just...
But was it a positive thing in terms of a coming together of the opposition around... We did hear ideology yesterday. Do you think that was positive at all?
You see, that is not positive. That's why I'm describing Kenya as a post-truth society.
Okay,
post-truth society has nothing to do with ideology.
Okay.
You win elections by threatening people, by propaganda, by denying the truth. And that is what we have embraced for a very long time. By hypocrisy, all you see is pretense, and it becomes a film. And it is an action-packed film where people don't care about where the truth lies. And so you have not received seen enough of this post-truth society. It is going to emerge more as people move from one end to another, and then others rejoin the places they had left before. So it's good that they came together.
Others like Richard seated here who seem to be...
It was one time, Mheshimiwa is an example of that post-truth society. Through hype and the propaganda, he seemed to have quit, and then he has come back home, quote unquote. So this is what you are experiencing. But generally speaking, Anne, what we are witnessing now is if they came together around issues, it would have been very good, because this fragmentation is also not very good for our country. But you don't see any issues. We'll
get into the issues. Let's respond to that. You've found your way back home.
First of all, I wanted to say that, Prof, I think the only statement that you've made which is sensible is the last sentence you made. That Kenya requires sensitivities and sensibilities politically first for us to go back to the drawing board. The drawing board is very simple. Every time in this country that people want to come together to agree whether you are going to be in the ruling coalition or whether you are going to be in the opposition, then you are always classified as somebody who's gone out there to look for handouts, to look for whatever. and I wanted to mention to Prof that the reason why I joined Jubilee, I didn't join them, I just wanted to have a working relationship with them, is because there are certain things a government can do if you negotiate and discuss with that government and your people can benefit. I didn't go to Kasarani because I didn't want to be classified as you have tried to do. That I went to Jubilee because I didn't have any particular reason why I was joining Jubilee, if not to go and collect money for that matter. And Honorable Duale is here, he may most probably agree with me on that one. But what happened yesterday, for me, I'm an optimist, that the opposition needs to form a strong opposition. Whether there are cracks or not, the truth and the reality is that with time, Kenyans have to get used to the idea that you're going to have two sides of the house or two sides of this country. You're going to have the government in office, which is most probably going to have a certain ideology and philosophy, if there's anything you can call that. And then you are going to have
nothing.
And then you are going to have the other side, okay, if it doesn't have ideology, where you have the people who are going to be in the opposition. Whether that is good for the country or not, as far as I'm concerned, we are slowly teething and slowly building ourselves to get to the point whereby people will have to agree or disagree on which side they stand on.
And so cracks are inevitable.
The cracks are completely inevitable. You see, Moses Wetangula right now is most probably making those comments for the simple reason that already there was simmering disagreements before that function yesterday from the fact that Musalia had been crowned as the spokesman for Western Kenya. And for us politicians, you understand, when our egos are bruised, when you find that sometimes somebody else is elevated and you expected you to be elevated, you're going to have these disagreements. For Nick Salat, finally, for Nick Salat, I actually didn't expect KANU to come into the opposition. I mean, KANU is an establishment party. KANU is a party that has been managed by the Moi family, by Gideon, and it will be very difficult because the interests of KANU, I do believe, will be better be taken care of by the ruling government today than if they went into the opposition.
Okay, Duarte, what do you think of that?
I was a very disappointed person yesterday. At least I watched for 2 hours what was happening in Bomas. And it was just hollow. To me, it was just the normal function they do at funerals and rallies that was brought to Bomas of Kenya. Kenyans expected 3 things from the opposition, which never happened. They expected to officially endorse and announce NASA. Kalonzo Musyoka never said NASA in his speech. Moses Wetangula never said NASA in his speech. And Raila Odinga was very economical with how he used the word NASA. So NASA was dead yesterday in Bomas. It was killed, buried. Secondly,
but there was an agreement to work together. As
no, but you know there was NASA, which was being, so Kenyans citizens expected at least the national, whatever they call it, to be unveiled. That never happened. They expected some sort of lineup to be unveiled. Nothing happened. What happened was, you know, personality. Half of the people were saying Duale must go. Half were talking about Kaiseri and his tear gas.
Must do.
Some were talking about William Ruto and Arab Singh. Some were talking about the president. So basically that was happened. But let me tell you what the problem in the opposition is. The opposition is facing a serious personality crisis. They have replaced ideology with the tribe. They have replaced ideology with personalities. And you saw when Kalonzo Musyoka was on the stage, there was a lot of noise. At one time, he even said, people are making noise. So there was some happening on Kalonzo Musyoka.
No.
But let me finish.
I will correct.
Let me finish.
No.
But you saw when Kalonzo Musyoka was speaking, all the capes of the various political parties were put on the head of one Raila Amolo Odinga by the team led by Joe. What were they trying to send? They were trying to send, the rest of you are flower girls. So we know the candidate. The candidate is Raila Odinga. More fundamentally, what is happening is, and that's why you see the constitution has created deputy president and president in a presidential system of government. In parliament, speakers and leaders. But when you see the opposition purporting to create the office of the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, and let me finish, which are not there. And then coming to what the Prof said, you have seen Nick Salat, but the first salvo for his own party, 2-3 hours after the function. You see, Gideon Moi has never attended. He never. Hey.
Kwani hawa watoto wameenda wapi?
Si ndio hizi. Wewe kuja hapa.
Your attitude yako not in my house.
Actually, unaona kitu imefanya. Shida ni yenu.
Praise the Lord my sister. Usishangae ni mimi. Mimi mbaya.
Nilikuwa nataka kuziosha.
Nyama choma sasa iko tayari. Sasa tunangoja tu.
Ai, baba, si ni watu tunaweza changamkia.
Always on the double.
Welcome back. Time to talk politics on Opinion Court. Please use that hashtag Opinion Court so that we can track your conversation. If you're online, we're at Citizen TV Kenya. That's on Facebook and Twitter, and 22422 as our SMS line. I will reintroduce my guests to you and our topic. To my right is Kitutu Chache South MP Richard Onyonka of ODM. Next to him is Edward Kisiangani, our resident political analyst, and to my left is Aden Duale, the leader of the majority. Let me also begin the program by making a correction. Last week, we inadvertently referred to one of our panelists as the UNDP representative on elections. We apologize for that. The professor was just a political analyst, so we beg your pardon for that. To our conversation today, we're discussing ODM's unity meeting of yesterday and whether these cracks that we are seeing emerging are real or perceived. And of course, in just a few days, we expect to be going back to the voter registration drive. So what does that mean for parties as they jostle for those much needed votes and to form a solid home? Prof, I'll start with you. What did you think about the NASA launch?
It was exhibitionist. The NASA launch was quite exhibitionist, and you could see it was like a film. But you see, it represents the truth about our Kenyan society. Let me declare on this show that Kenya is a post-truth society.
Post-truth?
Yes, it is a post-truth society. And in a post-truth society, what matters is hype, propaganda. But objective facts don't matter. You appeal to emotions. So when you see the launch, what happened at Bomas, everybody was emotional. Even those who didn't believe in unity rose up and sang in some delusionary, manner, and celebrated as if they were possessed by some spirits, and assured everybody we are together. But you have seen. In fact, hours later, it's not just days, days later, hours later, the first crack was seen when Nick Salat received a warning from the other party stalwarts in Kanu. Then today, Moses Wetangula has issued another statement which says that he can only belong to CORD. So it is a very interesting thing. What I would just... But
was it a positive thing in terms of a coming together of the opposition around... We did hear ideology yesterday. Do you think that was positive at all?
You see, that is not positive. That's why I'm describing Kenya as a post-truth society.
Okay,
post-truth society has nothing...
Kwani hawa watoto wameenda wapi?
Si ndio hizi. Wewe kuja hapa.
Your attitude yako not in my house.
Actually, unaona kitu imefanya. Shida ni yenu.
Praise the Lord my sister. Usishangae ni mimi. Mimi mbaya.
Nilikuwa nataka kuziosha.
Nyama choma sasa iko tayari. Sasa tunangoja tu.
Ai, baba, si ni watu tunaweza changamkia.
Always on the double.
Welcome back. Time to talk politics on Opinion Court. Please use that hashtag Opinion Court so that we can track your conversation. If you're online, we're at Citizen TV Kenya. That's on Facebook and Twitter, and 22422 as our SMS line. I will reintroduce my guests to you and our topic. To my right is Kitutu Chache South MP Richard Onyonka of ODM. Next to him is Edward Kisiangani, our resident political analyst, and to my left is Aden Duale, the leader of the majority. Let me also begin the program by making a correction. Last week we inadvertently referred to one of our panelists as the UNDP representative on elections. We apologize for that. The professor was just a political analyst, so we beg your pardon for that. To our conversation today, we're discussing ODM's unity meeting of yesterday and whether these cracks that we are seeing emerging are real or perceived. And of course, in just a few days, we expect to be going back to the voter registration drive. So what does that mean for parties as they jostle for those much needed votes and to form?
The state of Kenya has the greatest potential that any country in Africa can have. The issues that we have, and this is where I agree with Professor Kisiangani, we need now to move forward and begin to discuss what each side of the divide can provide for this country. And we need to understand that if this nation collapses, it collapses with all of us.
And does it collapse because of a continued stay of Jubilee in power?
No, not really. It collapses because Jubilee has refused to say and to look at the issues which are coming up in terms of what is it that Jubilee can give an extended hand and what is it that the opposition can give an extended hand, so that on most of the issues we can agree to mutually fix the problem that is in this country. What is happening is the fear that some people are having is that we are actually going and headed for the precipice, where both sides are pushing each other so much to the extent that we are no longer looking at the greater good of the Kenyan population. We are now looking at what is it that Jubilee wants and what is it that CORD or NASA wants. And finally, what I wanted to say is this. I believe that the onus, the responsibility of accepting to guide this country towards a democratic and social, responsible, and a country that is stable politically actually lies more on the president, and that's President Uhuru. According to me, the opposition's responsibility is to constantly raise the issues which are outstanding, and therefore it is for the president to look and say, this I think I can give, and this I cannot give.
Is this a make or break election?
No, it's not. But just give me 1 second. You know, if you looked at the body language of one Kalonzo Musyoka, the terminology he used, he kept on repeating betrayal. He kept on saying the cards must be put on the table.
But he says he has been betrayed by PA.
You had your time. Allow me to speak.
He has been betrayed by the government. That's what he meant.
Allow me to speak.
Yes.
You know, I allow you to speak. That tells you a very disturbed.
Let there be peace in parliament.
No. That tells you that's a very disturbed leader. 2, and I totally agree with the prof. From our side,
yes,
we have, it might be right, we have a solution to corruption. We have sacked people have been taken to court. We are doing the railway, we are doing free maternity, we are doing examination fees waiver, we are doing some roads. The question to the opposition is, what is the alternative to what we are doing? You know? You cannot just call a meeting to bomb us and say, talk about individuals. Sacrifice must be made. In 2013, when URP and TNA were merging, I was one of the key leaders. And we reached a stage where the position of, for example, prof at the university, it can only be done by only one professor in that class. 2 people cannot share the chair. So that sacrifice is not in the opposition. More coming to your question, Kenya has a robust constitution. Kenya has the best citizens who are enlightened on about voting. Kenyans are very peaceful. No politician should even threaten. But you know, if you pick the written speech, and that's why you see the rest spoke. But when Odinga was the only one who had a written speech, it tells you that the rest, what is going on in Bomas was just shenanigans.
Is this a make or break election for Kenya?
Let me finish. It's not an anomaly. In fact, it's going to be a better election than 2013. And that's why we have the opportunity between January 15th and 16th of February to do mass registration. By 10th of May, the voter register will be closed. That is a time when the election will be won.
Let's talk about the strategy that the opposition has put forward in as far as polling is concerned, and we heard them say, you know what, you're going to get the aspirants really to be, if you like, the first line of defense in safeguarding the vote, if it's door-to-door campaigns, if it is, you know, knowing how many people in a certain locale are eligible to be voters and making sure every last person is registered. Is that, Prof, for you, a winning strategy? Will that make the difference between this election for the opposition and the previous one?
For the first time, the opposition, some sense has come. In fact, the Greek goddess of luck has, has come back to them, and you call it Taik, and that goddess is giving them a lot of luck. They started the right way, because the initial thinking was they were going to go to the streets, and that was a trap set by Jubilee, so that as they are busy fighting, then Jubilee can continue registering. So they thought, well, I think they have good cooks now, political cooks.
You agree,
Richard could be one of the...
In fact, one of the issues, Prof, I've been raising over the years is that I use this example, and I think somebody in our party, ODM, and the coalition government, I mean in CORD, must have listened to what, including NASA. Even when the majority leader might want to dismiss this. The point I have raised before is very simple. We can continue complaining about losing the elections. But the truth is, when you look at how many members of parliament that the CORD coalition brought into the House, we ended up with 100. And yet, majority leader side came in with 250. That tells you that there was something, there was a mistake somewhere, and voter registration was one of them. Even when there could have been issues on the presidency, voter registration is so critical.
So you are right, Doc. It's true, voter registration is good. So they are doing the right thing. But what will happen, in fact, when the chips are finally down, we are going to think about who becomes the presidential candidate, because whichever way you register people, people will make decisions after they know the presidential candidate. True. Already, the biggest weakness within CORD, and they must recognize it, that
within NASA.
No, they call themselves. Okay, even if you call it NASA, because even the NASA representation was there.
We don't want to
is this?
Oh my!
The Western vote. Because if you look at Jubilee today, realistically speaking, if Western and the Coast vote as a bloc, Jubilee would be in some form of danger. You cannot rule that out. And even majority leader can admit that. But now, with that good luck, I think somebody in the CORD organized a wrong coup. The way events have unfolded is that somebody has torpedoed the popularity of Wetangula and set him no, maybe whoever arranged it, but it is also the goddess of Igbo. Ate. And who must have arranged that and you know Wetangula
various gods in this
but it's not like that.
So let me make my point. So finally, not God, the goddesses. In fact, if we want to, if the election has to be won by CORD, one of the determinant factors will be whether or not Wetangula and Musalia will work together in Western. Otherwise, if the two don't work together, that vote is lost, and the beneficiaries are Jubilee. So Jubilee will benefit, because when they are divided, so people will just be disillusioned. We are already losing this election, so maybe let us vote for Jubilee. So voter registration is just the beginning of one of the things. But they must sort out the presidential candidate and make sure they get Western Kenya as well as the cost intact.
But all is not rosy in the Jubilee side, and I want us to shift gears to the extent that tomorrow there is a meeting, I believe, of aspirants that is to be chaired by the President and the Deputy President. Hold on, the question hasn't come yet.
You say, it's NASA.
Let me put my question.
With Jubilee, a very serious problem.
Gentlemen, let me come to you with the question. In as far as the presidential ticket is the major concern that pundits see in as far as squad is concerned, but when it comes to Jubilee, it really is the nominations and the names that will be on the ticket. And let me give you the example of Nairobi, and earlier we had a report on that. The reports that we are getting of a tentative lineup have Peter Kenneth as governor, proposed governor for Nairobi, Sakaja Johnson or Philip Kisia being proposed for deputy, Senator Sonko for for the same position, and Women's Rep Millicent Omanga. So when lineups like these come to the fore, it seems that your cracks will really be in convincing the public that there aren't predetermined candidates within the Jubilee coalition, well, not Jubilee party. Are there those candidates in this lineup?
Number one, that lineup.
By the way, where is Eugene Wamaro in Nairobi?
Can I finish?
Let him talk.
Please say something.
Prof, I've allowed you. I'll say it.
Yes.
You know,
is this lineup?
Number one,
or more like
there's
that.
no rosy. Tomorrow we are launching the first smart card to register our members. You just need to send your ID card and your name, and you get your registration. 2, we have an agenda on voter registration. And unlike our friends, we want to register minimum 4 million extra Jubilee supporters. 1 million in Central Mount Kenya region, 1 million in the Rift Valley, 500,000 in Nairobi, and another 500,000 in all our regions, Pastoralist, Northeastern, Upper Eastern, all that. 2, that list is a list of Royal Media Service.
Wow.
What we agreed, what we agreed, yes, and it's good, you know, you do investigate. What we agreed yesterday.
That is post-truth. You
Yes,
can see.
yes, what we agreed at the post-truth, you know,
They don't want it to backfire.
I'm Kiguta, you know, tells Onyonka, we are not in Bomas, you know, where they didn't agree. We are at the studio. What we have agreed in Nairobi, we are 2,000 Nairobi aspirants and leaders. We have given them 1 month to go and sit and develop a consensus, which will entail all communities and all ages and gender. After 1 month, we will introduce our lineup. But our minimum as Jubilee in Nairobi is to have a governor, one governor, one deputy governor, one senator, one women rep to wrestle the leadership of the gubernatorial seat from court.
So it will have to be negotiated to democracy.
You know, of course, we are going to do, you know, there's, in our constitution, we have party primaries and we have sometimes consensus. And, you know, the issue of nomination is not only peculiar to Jubilee. It is in all parties. And I mean, Richard will agree with me.
Yes.
So how we are going to navigate party primaries? Unlike us,
Could I please?
us we're the only party that said we want free, fair, and we want IBs to conduct.
How do you know our colleagues are registered in the US?
Our colleagues say this, Prof.
How does he know that the people is registered are his?
No, these people can Prof has asked a very good question. That's a good answer. How do we know? What we are, in fact, is not us to force you to register. It's you to send your own ID and your name to our SMS platform. So we are not coercing you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Prof, please, Prof, if I want you to, after we leave here, I want you to register. Okay. That is the only alternative.
Prof is coded. No. Say this.
That is not true.
With a light touch.
I want it to belong to that because it is really chaotic.
With a light touch.
I want it to belong to that.
Let me say this. Just the way majority leader is saying. Just okay, fine.
That's for the record.
I said with a light touch.
Yeah.
Just the way majority leader is saying how he wants is going to wait for people to sit in Nairobi. It will be peaceful for them to look for an outfit which is going to bring in.
I said 1 month consensus.
1 month consensus.
Not outfit.
But when the opposition is meeting in Bomas to do the same thing, to begin to talk with each other, to begin to engage each other, and you saw them speaking, even when the cracks may emerge. I want to tell the majority leader like this. Order. Please, don't be shocked that all these people who you saw in Bomas are going to agree. All of them are going to choose among themselves who the presidential candidate is going to be. It is going to be a choice that most Kenyans will be happy about. I know for you, you have already talked, you've been talking, and a lot of your colleagues are talking that, in fact, yesterday was a day to endorse former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. That wasn't the issue. What is coming up, Majority Leader, let me make my case. Yes. What is coming up is this. There is a huge outswell and a huge desire for the NASA team and the CODE team to get together to get people who are going to give you a run for your money. Prepare yourselves. In fact, the opposition feels, I can tell you today, that the reason why there's been so much emphasis on this issue of Kalonzo Musyoka was not there, in fact, Wetangula, now you see they are fighting, is because it is so scary. If that thing gets together, my brother, it will be a real race. But you know, it will be a real race.
All right, let me hold that thought. We have just one more quick clip to play before we wind up, and we'll. Yes, it's your clip, because you seem to be having your foot, perhaps
because of my position, your mouth, I have to speak. Your mouth.
Let's listen to one of the things you said. Let's listen to what you said, and then we'll talk about that.
At where?
This is at the funeral of the late Bakto. Play.
Gideon, sisi wa Kenya wafugaji haswa, sisi tulibeba baba yako kwa mgongo sisi. Mimi ule mzee nimeoa msichana wake, General Mohammed, alitoa baba yako kutoka kichaka 1982 kuu. Tulibeba baba yako sisi wote. Wewe ni safari yako kubeba William Ruto.
It is alleged unsavory remarks made against the Kamba community, which I won't get into because that is now a matter, I believe, before the courts. But then now this, you're referring to Gideon Moi, the KANU leader, a party that was in coalition with you that you still...
No, they're not.
They were in a
election. No. Gideon Moi supported Musalia Mudavadi. He was in a money coalition.
But nonetheless, you're looking for that vote.
No.
What informed
we need to read
statement?
What happened anyway was that my statements are factual. If you read the history of Kenya in 1982.
That is the fact.
No, that's a fact. 2, in 2002, when the whole country went against KANU, the only people who voted for President Uhuru Kenyatta and KANU, and for the respect of President Moi, was Northeastern and the Pastoralist and Rift Valley. Only one member of parliament out of the 14 in Northeastern, the late Khalif, voted for NAC. So what we are saying is this. We, the Pastoralists, voted for your father. Today, we have William Ruto, who is a heartbeat away from the presidency, because we believe in his leadership. And that's why in Northeastern province, in last election, out of the 18 constituencies, 14 of them were URP.
So some say it was unnecessary for you to...
No.
Let me respond. Let me say, you see, first of all, he says it's factual. I remember the 1982 coup. General Mohammed was at the top, but there were very many other people who were involved, including General Sawe, Wanambisi, Sumbeyo. So it is bad for you to take, for your father-in-law to take credit for that. There were many people involved, so it was not factual. But secondly, in terms of political mileage, you are reckless. In fact, you hurt your party in a big way. Because people, the emotional thinking about that is that you are trying to belittle some people. In fact, I'm sure when you are alone, some people will tell you you are a liability to Jubilee. Let me ask you. When Orengo speaks, can I finish? When Orengo speaks in defense, can I finish? When Orengo speaks in defense with all manner of words on Raila Odinga and COD,
when Johnson Muthama speaks, you know, in the worst of the words that you can describe.
But majority.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
That's a very different matter.
Let him finish and you'll respond.
Relax. When Richard Onyonka kneels down, a representative of the people of Kenya, before Raila Odinga, like the goddess.
But don't you kneel down on Ruto.
Can I
kneel down on him every day.
Can I finish?
Every day. You,
can I finish?
You actually praise him as a god in parliament.
No, but can I finish?
The point is, you kneel down on the president. You have said you can kill yourself for him.
You don't relax.
Don't go there.
You don't
relax.
Go there. Relax. When a member of parliament, cool down. You know, respect, you know, when I
talk about what you said at the funeral.
Relax. Don't be emotional. Cool down. Don't be emotional. You know, I'm not emotional. I'm not emotional.
Gentlemen, please, I will have to end up this conversation.
I'm doing a comparative.
Get a hold on it.
I'm doing a comparative study.
Yeah. Talk about what you did at that funeral.
So let him conclude.
If you relax,
you are right to respond.
If you relax,
yes.
If you relax, I'll wind up.
Wind up, sir.
You know, I'm giving examples.
Please wind up.
When Boni Khalwale speaks in all the languages, reckless languages, when Johnson Muthama speaks in all this, when James Orengo defends his party leader, when Richard Onyonka virtually kneels down before Baba and cries.
The way you kneel down before Ruto.
Let me finish. Mine is not on clip. Yours is on clip.
But you said it in parliament.
Can you relax?
You said you can kill yourself.
If you relax, I'll finish.
Let me inject some.
I think
then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
But you know when
so you made your point, you're defending your party as anyone else. You have 30 seconds.
That comment on President Moi and the coup of 1982 was reckless, insensitive, completely out of this world. Leave Mzee Moi to retire peacefully. You can actually build William Ruto by talking wonderful things about him. You don't have to hit at Moi's son. You can come out, you can talk about William Ruto, you can talk about William Ruto.
Is not relevant.
He's the one who you are criticizing.
That's the one who are talking about. That's where we wind up the program. That is where we wind it up. We'll be back with the sport after this.